Good afternoon and welcome. This is Markets Today. Sorry about the slight delay. Today we want to look at the global markets and in particular frontier markets, Kenya being one of the frontier markets. What's pushing the drive towards the frontier markets? They've been attracting investment for the last 1 decade gone past, and we have seen significant influence, or rather inflows of investments going into markets in Africa, in Asia, that are now called frontier markets. We are going to have a look at this, but before that we will go into the market to have a look at the stocks that are making hot headlines. We'll start with the gainers, moving on to the losers and then the movers of the day. Everready East Africa Limited was the top gainer of the day, having shed off some value in the last trading session. They are up 8.99%, having landed at 0.97 cents. BOC Kenya Limited landed at 90 shillings 75 cents, being 6.14%. Home Africa is at 39 cents, being 5.41% up. Transcentury is at 1 shillings and 16 cents, being 4 shillings and 4.5%. And the last in the top 5 gainers is Olympia Capital Holdings, landing at 2 shillings 10 cents, being 4.48% upwards. Let's have a look at the losers. Umeme Limited was the top loser. It's a Ugandan company, Ugandan power company. It did 5.85% lower, being 6 shillings and 12 cents. Nairobi Securities Exchange, the BOUS itself, landed at 8 shillings, being 4.76% lower. Flame Tree Group, a member of the GEMS market that we were discussing earlier on this week, landed at 1 shilling 14 cents, being 4.62% lower. Uchumi Supermarkets shed off 4.55% to land at 0.21 shillings or 21 cents. This has been the trend for a while. Jubilee Holdings closed the day at 279 shillings 25 cents, and being the last of the top 5 losers, it shed off 3.87%. All right, let's have a look at the big movers of the day. Safaricom is topping the charts as usual with 2.5 million shares traded. KCB Group PLC was followed suit, having traded 1 million shares. Equity Group Holdings traded 810 shares. Kengen Company traded 338. And we have a new entrant here. Centum Investments traded 294,000 shares. What a performance. Well, to have this conversation today, I am joined by a member of the Standard Investment Bank technical team, Mr. Dan. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Aoki.
Excellent. I believe this is your first time at Metropole.
Yeah, it is. It is my
Karibu,
first time.
karibu.
Thank you, sir.
What do you make of the movements in the market? As usual, we start from there.
From the local market?
Yes.
So recently we've just been noticing there's a sell-off, a general sell-off. Like today there was a general sell-off in the local market. Foreigners are the larger participants in our market. So you will imagine, or you will assume that this is because of the geopolitical tensions elsewhere and the inflation concerns, and that's why they're trying to offload their positions in the riskier markets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assuming I'm fairly new in the market, and I've looked at that chart, which counters would you perhaps point me in the direction of to have a keen interest in?
So recently we had BAT, that's British American Tobacco, who released their earnings, and they were really impressive earnings, yeah. We're talking
50
about
shillings in terms of dividends.
yeah, 53 actually. Yeah, that's for the full year, because they had announced an interim earlier.
All right.
Yeah, so Safaricom is going down, unfortunately, mostly because of the net foreign selling that I'm talking about. When we look at the financial sector, so we're talking about Absa, Stanbic, they're expected to be releasing their earnings soon. So that is a counter that is going to be of interest to us.
So that expectation is what is driving interest into these counters?
Yeah, especially since in 2020 they had a lot of provisions due to the COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
So now in 2021 they are reducing what they're provided for. So we do expect that the financial sectors are going to post really impressive earnings. Yeah.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Let's now, I know you probably are part of the global markets desk,
Yes,
and this is what excites you more. the local market is merely where you pass by. But let's talk about the global market.
Yeah.
What are the movements there? What do you make of it? And any interesting stocks globally?
So the theme is a bit similar in the global markets.
Net sales.
Yeah, we're talking net selling. When we look at the S&P, the Nasdaq, those are the major indices in the US, yeah, and they're down literally more than 10% from their highs. That's last year highs, and that is technically referred to as correction territory. When they go to 20% and lower from the highs, that's now bear territory. So right now we are really in the wait and see period, because there's the whole geopolitical tension that I said earlier, Russia invading Ukraine, and also the inflationary concerns. Inflation is at 40-year highs across the major economies, so that's the UK, the US, the EU. So yeah, that's
everybody is complaining of the high inflation rate.
Even locally, you can see there's a lower food prices.
I know in Morocco, they've actually gone to the streets. At least we are more civilized about our complaints. We went on Twitter. But carry on, sir.
Of interest also globally, we'll talk about the financial sector because, well, higher interest means higher margins for them. So we do expect that they're going to record increased earnings within the year, at least, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any outstanding counters for you? I know several bad news have hit us, like, what do you call these Facebook guys nowadays?
Meta.
I actually wanted to call it metadata, then I realized maybe not. They had a bad year, so to speak. I don't know if any other counter that perhaps you want to have a conversation on.
I would still incline on the financials.
Yeah.
So we are talking about the JP Morgans, the Wells Fargos, the Citibanks. So yeah, those are really the counters we are eyeing. A bit of energy, so Exxon maybe. So those will be really the guys who will gain from what we are currently experiencing. So yeah, in every war there's a loser and a winner.
Yeah.
So in this case, higher interest rates, that means higher earning potential for banks. When you talk about higher oil prices, we're talking about better earnings for energies.
Is it perhaps almost always the case that the big gainers in any crisis would probably be from Europe and Americas? I didn't hear you mention any Chinese or Japanese companies, Indian companies.
Okay, with China, you really can't be sure about what's going to happen the next day. The president could wake up and put up more capital controls or more controls in the market. So we really wouldn't, personally, I wouldn't want to call out Chinese companies because of the whole political and inherent.
And the Japanese? They gave us ikigai, some very good management terms.
In Japan, maybe look at Mitsubishi. I believe they also have a banking branch or arm of it. So they also have a banking arm. So yeah, I would really be inclining. I would really incline on what is going to benefit from what you're going through.
I think if there's any lesson I've learned out of the conversation I've had with you so far, dude, look at oil and look at banks. Period.
So far.
Everything else is just details of the same.
Yeah, that's the theme so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are frontier markets, and which economies fall into this category?
Okay, so a frontier market, it's a category in the developing world. So there's the developed countries and the developing countries. And in the developing world, there's the emerging markets, there's the frontier markets, and then there's the least or the less developed countries. Yeah. So Kenya was once in the less developed countries, so you joined the frontier, and our frontier market is a market which is better than the less developed market, but
not yet at emerging.
At the emerging, and that's mostly because either the market capitalization of the whole economy is small, or the turnover day to day is small, the number of listed companies, the accessibility to the same, the liquidity. So those are mainly the factors that determine how big or small a company is.
Okay.
Yeah. A market.
No worries. But in Africa, for example, which countries would you term as frontier markets?
So there are 21 countries in the world that are categorized as frontier markets, at least a consensus across the board. Yeah. In Africa, there are 8 countries. So there's Botswana, there's Cote d'Ivoire, there's Kenya, there's Nigeria, there's Morocco, and there's Mauritius. I don't know if I wasn't counting. I hope I'm there.
No worries, no worries. I think you've mentioned the ones that I also know. So the others, they can wait next year. Maybe we can discuss them.
Ghana is another one, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know, and this is just a by the way, I have always wondered why Nigeria is a bigger economy than South Africa. But South Africa is termed as an emerging market, while Nigeria is termed as a frontier market. Strangest financial principle there ever.
Again, I'll go back to what I said.
It's about the stock market.
It's about how liquid the stock market, how deep it is. By depth, I mean the activity, the foreign interest especially. You know, when you limit your access to local markets, that's when you will find yourself having less activity on your counters. Yeah, Nigeria actually once was. It was an emerging economy, and then it was downgraded into a frontier economy. I think that happened in 2015, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so, and that was mostly because of the currency controls they're having in their country. When you go to Nigeria, or when you talk to someone from Nigeria, they'll tell you that moving the naira out of the country is really an uphill task. So that's why you will see that a country can actually cross the border to the emerging economy world and then now be downgraded again, either because of a change in parameters or a change in policy from the government.
But still on the definitions, and I know we are discussing frontier markets today and not emerging markets. You know, some of these guys have the strangest economies, like the Chinese and the Russians. On one hand, they have some of the biggest armies, some of the biggest economies. I mean, the Chinese economy is competing with the US economy in terms of size. On the other hand, they claim to be less developed. In fact, they are claiming to be emerging markets. As in, when it suits them, they are very powerful. When it doesn't suit them, they are very needy. They would cry like a tuoli, hatuna uwezo. What makes the disparity?
I would think that, for example, when you talk about China is a big economy, yeah? But when you look at the things, the GDP per capita, because you see the country has what, 1.7 billion people?
Yeah.
So when you talk about wealth and you divide that wealth amongst 1.7 billion people, it really stops fitting the category of a rich country, you know. Look at India, again, 1.4 billion people. That's not...
However big the economy is, the per capita is still...
And then when you compare it with another country which has a small population, let's say Bahrain, who have a lot of oil, but small population, yeah.
I was hoping you would say a smaller country like Kenya, which has a lot of wealth.
we are hoping to get there.
All right.
Yeah.
What are the unique benefits of going to a frontier market or going frontier?
So you do get the benefit of increased investor appetite, increased investor activity. That's now, once you're classified as a frontier market, that shows the world that you have the potential to get to the next step, which is the emerging economy. Some people actually call the frontier the pre-emerging economies. Yeah. So when you look at it in that way, so that means you're going to get more foreign investment, foreign direct investments. We get, and that in turn means more economic growth for the country, really. Yeah.
Okay. I know, for example, Morocco is part of the frontier markets.
Yeah.
I will not ask why Egypt, for example, or Tunisia, but Morocco. Yesterday or the day before yesterday, we saw the activity in the streets around the price controls. Do you think, around the prices of goods rather, do you think that this kind of political activity can affect its being a part of the frontier markets?
Yes, actually, yeah, that's one of the big factors that are considered, the big metrics that are considered when trying to categorize a country into a
political risk.
Yeah, there's a political stability factor, the economic stability. So let's look at a country like Turkey. Turkey has been classified as an emerging economy, but recently it is at risk of being downgraded because of the political, the economic missteps, I would call, that the country, the president is taking, and the volatility that is being witnessed within the country.
Yeah.
The currency in the country, yeah.
You know, one of the advantages of being a global markets analyst is you can talk about other presidents without exposing yourself to local risk. But you had started mentioning the frontier markets in Africa. We didn't quite talk about the others. I know there's Mexico somewhere, or Mexico is emerging.
Yeah, emerging.
Yeah.
So maybe in South America, we'll look at Peru. I will look at Argentina, look at Colombia. Those are categorized. When you go to the Middle East, you can talk about Sri Lanka, Kazakhstan, Bangladesh. So those are countries that fit within that categorization.
No, the first category sounded like football teams to a World Cup. But the second one just sounded like oil sellers.
That shows you how diverse the frontier market is.
It looks quite diverse.
Yes, it is.
I'm hoping maybe, one of these days we can get out of that diverse team and also be part of the diverse team of emerging markets. It's a dream.
Yeah.
As they say, it is valid. We have to take a break, however valid our dreams are. And when we come back, we'll talk about the opportunities that are currently present in the frontier markets. We'll also at least narrow down into some of these markets and have conversations on them, both on this continent and beyond. Don't go away, stay tuned.